Right. And after that comes everyone that makes the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation possible. To all of our donors and members, individual, corporate, special partner, and senior special partner institutions, without whom we would not be here today. The Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation is in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines. We are a nonprofit member-supported organization working for poverty reduction in the rural countryside of the Philippines through job creation by promoting agribusiness development, small agribusiness development throughout the country. If you're joining us this morning, good morning. It's great to see you again. Lovely to see our familiar faces. We've got a great topic this morning because it's one that I personally feel is an excellent agribusiness opportunity for anyone to get into, particularly in the propagation of planting materials. And in this case, it's not just simply seedlings, but really fruits and rare fruits at that. We all love our fruits here in the Philippines, but I'll admit sometimes it's a little difficult to get really good fruit in the Philippines. So the more nurseries we can find here in the country, the better, particularly because seedlings can't really travel very far. So it's actually an excellent agribusiness opportunity that allows lots, if not hundreds, if not thousands of small nurseries and plant propagators around the country to serve their local communities. It's a kind of business that we particularly like here at the foundation. Anyway, if you are joining us this morning, welcome. If you're joining us 2 weeks later through our social media uploads, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time in the world, wherever in the world you may be, we hope that this morning's session brings you a lot of value. Um, if you have any questions for us or you'd like to leave your questions or comments or today's session has brought you any particular value, we welcome you to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube or to follow us on Facebook so that you're always updated and posted on the activities of the foundation. Leave us a comment down below, ask your questions. Maybe you'd like to share your experience as well. Or perhaps today's session brings you enough value that you'd like to support the foundation's cause. Our email links are in the description. Please introduce yourselves. We'd love to get to know you better. Anyway, without further ado, may I invite the chair of the foundation, Mr. Ernie Ordonez, to introduce our speaker for this morning. Ernie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to all of you. We're delighted to have a person who has moved from IT to agriculture, and he's done it with profit. Certainly a terrific model. The topic today is profitable seedling enterprise. Profitable because we're in business. We know if it's not profitable, nothing happens. And it's done something for the country that also makes money. And seedling, we lack so many seedlings. We say plant. We don't have the seedlings, we can't do it. So we're glad to have Bernard, we call him, Bautista, to talk about this. Basically, as I mentioned, he really started in IT for 8 years and then shifted to farming. But his farming is unique. His farming is not just farming, but seedling, which includes propagation and marketing, right? It gives the whole value chain. That's fantastic. But he gives of himself to the country. He used farm tours to spread his knowledge. And he even has something which goes from how to do something that's small farm to enterprise, so that people really can make money through these even small farms. So without much further ado, we'll ask Bernard to give his phone number so you can reach him, especially from abroad. And we like him to start with that because we often forget about the phone number. And then give us a bit about his background so we know a bit about what he does. And then he gives us his presentation. He's done a great thing. He prefers interaction. So he'll give a small presentation. We'll have lots of interaction. So Bernard, you're one of the people who does the reverse. Most people go from agriculture to overseas work, careers, etc. You've done a fantastic thing, reverse. And we'd like to hear from you. So Bernard, it's our pleasure to welcome you all the way from Cotabato. So Just to let you know, he's also a person who is in the core technology transfer group of Cotabato, in the core group. So he's done quite a bit for our country. Okay, so Bernard, please proceed with your presentation. Start your phone number because we sometimes forget. Phone number first and then your presentation. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Sir Ernie. So, my name is Bernard Bautista. Uh, I'm from Maquilala, North Cotabato. I'm gonna give my contact number in the presentation later. It's included in the presentation, sir. Maybe I can highlight it later. Is that okay?
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah. So to give you a background on about me. So we grew up in a small town of Maquilala, North Cotabato. Growing up, my father is a farmer. So it's in my heart being a farmer. But after high school, IT is one of the growing industry. So instead of taking agriculture, I take up IT. Then later on, when I finish my studies, I work in a corporate environment, particularly SM group of companies. I work in SM Davao as IT associate for 8 years. But uh, looking back, even if I work in IT industry, my love for farming is always here in my heart. So it's always, every time I go home, there's always a sense of nostalgia about our younger days. I miss farming, how we go to farm every time my dad is working there. So I miss those things. Then my dad come up with the idea 2015 that he told me that, anak, it's about time to learn the business and learn farming. So you really you think of it and make a decision so that uh, we can assure our future, the future of our business and farming. So uh, it take me 6 months to or retain as IT. So I choose a different path. So I go back in farming way back 2015. So I transition from an IT professional to a full-time farmer. And now I'm so happy that I was able to meet a lot of people through farming. So what I love about farming, and especially fruit farming, is that it connects people. Through farming, I was able to make some friends and some mentors by doing it. Uh, Even though my dad has a lot of connections before, but working here in the farm, so I was able to expand our connection and network. So my dad before has a lot of established customers. So
Right.
building a profitable seedling enterprise. So selling seedling is our bread and butter since we were young. Actually, through selling seedlings, our family, my dad was able to send us to school, and it really helps us during that time. So opportunity of the biggest problem in the world now is food security. So by growing fruit seedlings and fruit trees, we will able to help the farmers to uh, battle uh, food security, and we're able to provide food to our farmers, especially to our family. And one of the opportunity in selling seedlings is that uh, the shift to premium and rare varieties. Before, especially in durian, there are only few varieties available. Although they are good, but there are still some better varieties out there. So we see this opportunity, and now we're growing those premium and high value varieties, especially in durian, and also the rare varieties. So a lot of people is always looking for a different fruit or different varieties because of their curiosity. So it is also one of the opportunity that we take to propagate and grow different fruits, especially the rare ones. Actually, I have a lot of rare fruits in the farm that you can see. The fruits is not the usual. Some of them were imported and only can be found in Borneo. So we see it as a good opportunity, the growing and selling of planting materials. Next one is vision. Here's our personal, here's our vision in the farm, to be a trusted supplier of quality planting materials. So on this part, uh, my dad has already established a good name before I became the manager of the farm. So it's not that hard for me because my dad is already trusted. It's just that I maintained our position and I maintain the trust of our clients in providing quality planting materials. Second is to continue serving clients, farmers, high value crops, helping the industry grow. You know, selling planting materials is really crucial and important because if you don't have a quality and true to type planting materials, our industry will not grow. Sometimes there are cheap planting materials out there, but the problem is they are not true to type and the varieties are not high value. Thus, growth of industry will not grow because of those poor planting materials. And last, focus more on research and development to create, discover new varieties of fruit trees in the Philippines. You know, when I travel in Malaysia, I really envy them because they have a lot of new varieties and different varieties. I mean, the diversity of their fruit trees is really wide, unlike in the Philippines. It's my ultimate dream that 10 years or 20 years from now, people in the Philippines or our farmers here will not go to other places. We want to bring them here. And there's a lot more of fruits in the Philippines that yet to be discovered. So it's my main objective to discover or create new varieties for our farmers here in the Philippines. Next, target market. Our target market are farmers, local, and from other places also. Aside from the farmers here in Mindanao and other provinces nearby, I supply planting materials in Luzon and Visayas. In fact, I'm helping some farmers in Luzon to develop their farm. I work as part-time consultant in some of the farms in Luzon. Then collectors. There's a lot of collectors there looking for rare and different fruits, which I have here in the farm. So they are some of our target market. Government projects. I supplied some planting materials to some LGUs. And my dad before, he's been supplying quality planting materials to government and LGUs here in Mindanao. Agripreneurs. There are some uh, agripreneurs that visits us and buy planting materials so that they can put them on their farm. And farm tourism businesses. Actually, this is one of the growing niche in the farming industry, the farm tourism, because a lot of people now will go to your farm just for the experience and to experience how good, how quality, and how rare your fruits are. So in this picture, I'm showing you this picture. These are some of our regular customers. This is Congressman Toto Mangudadato and former Governor Papa Gob Arturo Uy. They are one of our long-time regular customers. In fact, Kong Toto is my first customer of Musang King. He's really lucky because he was the first to make his trees fruit last 2024. These pictures are taken during our visit to his farm, September of 2025. So, like I said before, durian connects people. If not for durian and not for fruit trees, I was not able to connect with them and I will not be sitting around there talking to them. So, fruit trees, especially durian, really connects people. So, high value crops. So I focus on this particular fruits I've listed here. Durian, it's no brainer. I'm a durian man. So most of my collections here are durian, wild durian species, and the high value durian. So if you notice in this picture, those were not your typical durian that you can see in the stalls in Davao and in some fruit stalls in Manila. Those were wild durian species, and they're from our farm already. So this one, the color durian here, this is Durio graveolens. Actually, this is a very underrated durian. It's really good. If you don't like the pungent smell of the normal durian, maybe this one is for you. Uh, it's really, it's not that pungent, and the taste, it has a hint of almond and peanut butter. That's what they say. So most of my Luzon friends prefer this over the normal durian. So this one is, it looks, when you look at it, it looks like jackfruit, but it's not a jackfruit. It's a sempedak. Sempedak is a uh, fruit also native to Palawan. So if you taste sempedak, if you open it, it's like marang that you will just tear it off. And the taste, if durian and jackfruit has a has a offspring, that is the sempedak. The taste is like a combination of jackfruit and durian. And this one is some of the rare fruits that we had in Borneo. This is the bay. So there's a lot of things or fruits to be discovered here in the Philippines. And I'm proud to say that I have collected a lot of it. So if you'll visit our farm, you can see a lot of those wild durian and rare fruits in the farm. So other than durian, lanzones, rambutan, mangustin, sempedak, jackfruit, and rare fruit trees from Borneo. So sales channel, my sales channel is the farm gate. Usually, since our place is really accessible, because we're just located along National Highway in Davao Cotabato Road, so it's really our place is really strategic and easily to locate online or FB. So nowadays, if you don't have an online account or social media account, it's really a disadvantage. So since I'm working on IT before, I take advantage of my knowledge. That's why I have an active social media account. In fact, my account now is my second account because my account was hacked before. But since 2016, I'm really active posting different fruits, especially durian, on our social media account. Almost every day I post there. Expo. So during Plant Expo in our province and in Davao, we usually join those Plants Expo. It's also one way that we can share, or people from other provinces and places can access or buy our seedlings. Then bulk buyers. Bulk buyers, usually those were from LGU. If you can see this load of truck, we supplied 10,000 durian planting materials in one LGU in our province, particularly Antipas. So this is our page, Bautista Integrated Farm and Nursery. And my contact number here, but I'm gonna emphasize it later. I'm gonna put my contact number. So next is scaling strategy. So to scale to widen to grow our business, some of the strategy that we have is expanding our mother trees. So we plant more mother trees. And the important thing is your mother's tree should be fruiting. It's always good if you can show a fruiting mother tree and fruiting tree, so that the customers and clients will see that you already have it fruiting, because it's part of our reputation is always important when selling seedlings. Because if your currency is your reputation, then everything will follow. Profit and customers will follow. Then one way to scale is train our staff. So from time to time, especially since I'm the operations manager in our farm, I train my staff and I show them videos from other countries how to propagate. Then we apply it in our farm. Although not all that the strategy or method of propagation works in the Philippines, but we only adapt the good ones and those technique that works well for us. Increase production capacity. So this one is really crucial because increasing production capacity means increasing your inputs and increase your what you call this expenses. Acquire new plant varieties. So this is really important. From time to time, there are new varieties that's available in the market, and they are uh, usually the superior one. So it's good that from time to time you acquire those plant varieties. Next one. So will be the conclusion of my presentation. So seedlings are the heart and soul of our fruit industry. So we should remember that there are no fruit industry existing without quality seedlings because they are the heart and soul. So it's really important to produce quality planting materials so that there will be a industry that will be created. Thus, it will help farmers and especially the economy of our country to elevate it. So this ends my presentation and thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the quick presentation, Bernard. Today's format, apart from the presentation of Bernard, we have a few interview questions. So if the audience will allow me, I'll ask a few questions and I'll invite our audience to ask a few questions as well. Um, so that we can we can get a more in-depth look at what Bernard is doing. Um, so Bernard, in your presentation, thank you very much, really, for showing us. It's great that you were able to work with the strong relationships that your father has already built up, and then that you were able to continue developing and building on those relationships and you know, building that trust into something bigger. Um, I'd like to ask a few questions about what you're doing, particularly because we'd like to talk about the business side
Yes, yes.
of this works. Um, so you mentioned that you like to collect these sort of rare seedlings, these fruit tree seedlings, and that your first customer really was Governor Toto Mangudadatu. Um, and how did you end up with, you know, rare fruit trees? It's a very particular niche
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it comes to the market. You know, most nurseries they try to go for something a lot faster. The barrier to entry is lower. You know, if you're going to produce vegetable seedlings, it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Your turnover is every 2 or 3 weeks. Fruit tree seedlings, that takes a while, you know. You're looking at a while before you can do that. So walk us through that. You know, how did you end up in this particular niche versus, you know, other nurseries? Yeah.
Okay. So when I started working here in the farm 2015, I was thinking what particular crop or fruit I will specialize in because if we speak of rambutan, there are only few varieties. Mangosteen, only one. Lanzones, two. So I think that durian is the best fruit that I will specialize because durian has a lot of varieties. Like in the Philippines alone, we have I think 50 plus. In Malaysia, 200 plus. Thailand, 300 plus. I'm not that sure, but there's a lot in one particular species, Durius cibuthinus. Then I discovered or I noticed that we have a very unique durian in the farm, the small one, the Durio graveolens, and it is very underrated. Nobody wants it because for us here, because we're fortunate to have a lot of durian, it tastes different. It tastes like jackfruit and chesa in one. But when I dig some research, it's a very unique durian and can only be found in Palawan and Borneo. So that uh, lights up my curiosity, and from then on, uh, I targeted to have those really rare and wild durian to be planted or propagated in our farm. And we're really happy because I was able to put those Durio graveolens, the small one, I was able to put it on spotlight. Like a lot of people from Luzon now loves it and looks for it every season.
That's great to know. That's really the best way to go about starting a business, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're really starting from a passion with, finding
Yeah.
these roots. But could you walk us through sort of, if you're willing to share, would you be willing to walk us through this business model? When you're sourcing your genetic material, how you propagate them, all the way to selling. If that's okay with you,
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
comfortable sharing?
Yeah. Before comes first
Hmm.
the fruiting season of durian. Then during that time, we sell a lot of fruits. Then people will just throw away the seeds. After they eat, they just throw it away. Sometimes they will bring it. And we also source out from other farmers to help them because uh, for those people who start doing the nursery business, seeds are just waste, but we buy it to them. Then it will be like a 2 month period. Like we collect the seeds, we wash them, then we put them on the grow bags. Then after that, we really need to take care of those seeds so that it will grow into a healthy rootstock. That 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 period will be uh 5 months, 4 to 5 months before we can graft the rootstock. Then after that, we will collect scions from our selected mother trees. It is really important if you have a really true to type and legit mother trees. So us in the we in Bautista Integrated Farm, we really pick the right variety, those with high value and sellable in the market. Then those were the ones we will graft onto our rootstock. Then after that, it will take you another 4 months before you can sell it. Grafting after 4 months, those were, I think, will be considered as medium planting size. Then those planting materials 1 year and above, those were considered as large planting materials already. So that's the time. We have a window of at least 6 months, 4 to 6 months after grafting to 1 year before we can sell our planting material. So it's not a walk in the park like that. You grow them, and after how many months you can sell it right away. No, it's a sell it. Quality planting materials is a product of your love, dedication, and patience growing those seedlings.
I see, I see. Before we get to some questions from the audience, maybe you could tell us a little bit, about the financials of running, a rare fruit tree seedling nursery. What are the major costs that you find? You already mentioned one, time,
Yeah.
the time it takes to get to a seedling that you can sell. But could you give us an idea, walk us through like the major costs that you have in running, this kind of fruit tree nursery? And then considering that these are your costs, seedlings, particularly if you're talking about fruit trees, there's a seasonality, there's
Yes.
good time to plant it, you don't want to plant your seedlings under less than ideal conditions and things. So, considering that these are the costs in running a nursery, how do you maintain sort of a consistent income despite the seasonality of what you do? Yeah.
Yes, that's true. It's seasonal, especially now. There's a coming El Nino, so only few customers will tend to buy the seedlings. So it's really a challenge for us, especially during the summertime. But uh, if you really prepare, especially you should prepare your water system. ahead of time. So it's a big no-no if you will put up a nursery business or nursery without having a source of water. And to lessen up the cost, uh, I'm practicing regenerative farming. So I really take care of the soil, and most of the time, I try to lessen the use of pesticides and insecticides in the farm. In fact, uh, I'm making my own fish amino acid to help me with the cost. Instead of putting a lot of inorganic fertilizer, I'm using what you call this fish amino acid. And when it comes to the cost, uh, it's really challenging because since it's seasonal, you need to prepare. Like sometimes we need to uh, cut people from working during the summer season, then let them come back when the season is already good.
Well, I mean, to begin with, farming was never limited to 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Yes, yes.
It's not really a profession that sticks to that kind of working schedule. Okay, let's take a question from the audience before we go on to before we proceed with the interview. Milkor, I see your hand is raised. Thanks for your patience. Please come in.
Hi, Bernard. Bernard, we used to buy seedlings from Agusan. Toog tree
Tawag,
seedlings.
yes.
Oh yeah, and then
Nay.
also from Puerto Princesa, the manggis tree seedlings. My question is, you know, we have a business, we make buttons, but we diversify, no? From
Yes, yes, sir.
serving the garment industry, now we're serving the hotels and other resorts. Now, have you tried planting ilang-ilang trees? Why ilang-ilang? There's a big market for the leaves, for the flowers, for perfume, perfume industry, and also the medicinal oils. There's a big market. You know, Philippines has about 120 million people. No, have you tried that? You are already in the business of land. You know, you're knowledgeable about trees, the land, the fertilizers. You have all the inputs, no? That's all. That's all, Bernard.
Oh,
You can.
okay, sir. Actually, I'm open to that. In fact, we have three ilang-ilang trees here, the native one, the old one, and I also planted some uh, new varieties of ilang-ilang, not the hybrid. Actually, ilang-ilang has a lot of potential for me. But the thing is, we need to educate the farmers that they can explore uh, other market like ilang-ilang, aside from fruit trees and vegetables and other native trees. So I'm really open on that, sir.
And also the pili nuts. You know,
Yes.
the pili nuts industry in Bicol cannot supply the demand for that. Yeah, okay.
I, yes, sir, I agree. That's what Sir June Borbe told me about peanut. In fact, in our farm, we planted like 50 trees of pili nut, and we will plan to what you call this? Uh, expand later on with pili nut. Actually, there's it's sad to say that some Filipinos are not interested with pili nut, and I saw a lot of foreign friends who's really interested. They are more interested than our pili nut compared to our Filipino farmers. So if I could be of any help in propagating pili nut, I told uh, anyone interested, I'm willing to help.
Bernard, gracias. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome po.
I feel like this feeds into a wider question about plant genetic resources preservation here in the country. You
Yes.
mentioned earlier, Bernard, here we've identified, a few durian varieties, and durian is very popular, but then rambutan, there's only a few. Lanzones, you said two. So, and then in other countries, they have very robust genetic resource preservation and breeding programs that allow us to really, make use of these natural resources and improve upon them while preserving the original mother plants. I think that's something that is sorely missing. Would you
Sir, I would
consider
comment.
yourself?
Yeah, yeah, actually, I've been doing that for almost 10 years now, to be
Mm,
exact, 10 years. So I planted a lot of, since durian is not prototype, meaning it doesn't grow the exact variety when you eat it, it should be grafted. I planted a lot of durian from seeds.
mm,
Maybe later, 10 to 15 years after I planted them, we can produce another variety that we can register. So it takes a lot of time and sometimes it's a hit or miss, but I'm willing to take the risk. So
mm.
5 years from now, maybe we can produce our own new varieties and new hybrids that we can register as Philippine owned hybrids and durian variety.
Yeah, because you said, your first customer, Sir Toto, bought Musang King. It's not ours. So, but
Yeah,
obviously, you have to be a business. You have to work with
yeah.
what's required, demand in the market. Do you mind if I dive more into the details of, let's say you mentioned that you source seeds, you use that to grow out a rootstock, and then you graft the scions from the mother plants. Obviously, you do that because it's a faster way, right? A faster way for
Yes,
you to
yes.
get, seedlings. If you're going to say like you have your seedling, you said you have a small seedling, you have a large seedling. Would you mind sharing, let's say a small seedling would be how much when you retail it, a large seedling would be how much you retail it, versus let's say your cost of production. Is that something you're comfortable with sharing? If not, it's okay. We can go into other questions.
So I can share you the price. When the customer is from Luzon, because it's really hard to prepare if from Mindanao going to Luzon, because we need to. I know you're aware. We need to replace the media from soil to coco peat, so it's really costly. Like the small one, uh, for Puyat, we sell it for 150 to 200. The Not that small, but it's already considered as medium. So the big one, LPM, usually 350, 400. Those were for our Philippine pride durian, puyat.
Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that sounds reasonable. I mean, you once you actually are able to grow out your durian, it's really invested in the
Yeah.
in the tree itself. Would you mind sharing, right now, what's the largest market that you have? Who are your primary customers? Are you finding that you're mostly selling to farmers, or are you selling to people like you who are interested in, having their own sort of preservation of rare
Okay.
durian fruit trees, or are you looking at, are you primarily working with government for agroforestry? What would you say is your primary market, right?
Our primary market right now is local,
Mm,
local farmers.
mm,
Since durian is a growing industry,
mhm,
of all the fruits, durian is has a high potential
mm,
because of the MOA Memorandum of Agreement signed by China and Philippines 2023. So that position our durian in the world market. So we are guaranteed that our durian will be can be exported to China. So because China is the biggest durian market in the world. So that's why starting 2023, a lot of people is planting durian. So that's the opportunity that we saw. That's why we focused more on durian. And speaking of customers, to name few, the two that I mentioned, Kong Toto, Papa Gob Arturo, and a lot more private farms usually. In fact, we're developing a durian farm in somewhere in Luzon because right now, compared to 10 years before, people from Luzon is now growing an appetite for durian. So
mhm,
before they don't like durian that much, but now they're starting to love it. But the thing with Luzon and Visayas people, when they have their first durian, it should be a quality one. Because when people, for the first time, will eat a bad durian that will leave a negative impression, they will say the durian is stinky and not for us. It's not good. So it will leave a negative impression. It should be a decent and good durian when you have it for the first time. And also one more thing, a lot of people is also interested in the sempedak. Sempedak is a really good fruit. It's a really unique fruit. Although on the Artocarpus side of fruits, jackfruit is still the most popular and the number one. But if you want to offer different thing, it should be sempedak. Like in the farm, I have, I think, 8 varieties of sempedak in the farm. So different variety, different taste profile, and different characteristic.
That's great to know. Yeah, markets always change, market
Yeah.
requirements always change. I still remember a time when I was starting my work in agriculture at this point, 16 years ago, where people still said, um, well, at least here in Luzon, I don't know in other places, but at least here in Luzon, I would be seeing people who said, don't eat too much watermelon, it will give you diarrhea. And so some people were very cautious of watermelons. There was also a time where raw vegetables were not something that would be accepted in the market. So salads were something that is limited only to high-end restaurants. Now salad is everywhere. So market really does change all the time. But I'll ask one more question before I go to the audience again. We have a question from the audience. But so you mentioned that really you're seeing this trend, right, when it comes to fruits, because there's now an agreement with the Philippines and China, that's allowed the Philippines to position its durian in the global market. And you're seeing that there's this, you're able to sell locally to local farmers because durian is really becoming a commodity. So if you're going to follow that trend, how do you see this market developing in the future? As a way to maybe we can encourage more people to follow your example moving forward with fruit trees here in the Philippines.
Yes. So here's the thing. If you don't have a really big farm, you go for agritourism or fruit tourism. It's a really thriving and growing niche of fruit farming. So if I may, can I share you a photos of what I did
Please,
2018?
please, please,
Yes.
please.
So before when I was starting, this is the thing that I do. So this is so this was 2018. So what I did is I invite a lot of a friend connected me to those people. See? So people will always pay for the experience, not the fruit. So it's one way of uh, it's a good way of doing business. So you invite them, you teach them, and that's it. It's a easy way of promoting local tourism, and also it's profitable. It's profitable because they will just stay there for like 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours maximum. Then one way also you can share your knowledge. So I'm really happy this during that time because I was able to market our durians, what we have in the farm, just like that. So if you don't have a large area, let's say for example you have 1 to 3 hectares, farm tourism or agritourism is a really good way to on the business side. But if you have bigger land like 5 hectares, you go for industrial farming. Yeah, like that.
See,
So
great to know. That's great.
yeah.
Okay, we've
Then
got two. Sorry, yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, it's okay. Before that, I as what Sir Ernie said earlier, I need to share my what you call this, the
Phone number?
Contact details.
contact details. It's important, so I can flash it for like a minute so that uh
You can just mention it.
okay, just mention. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So that's it. So I will mention my number, sir. Would that be
Yes,
okay?
yes,
Ah,
please.
my number is 0956 694 7479. That's it. And
Okay,
our page,
I repeat it for all of you listeners, now, especially around the world. And I'm so glad because others give us their office number. You're giving us your cell number. 0956 694 1479. You can also,
7479, sir, Ernie.
I'm sorry, 0956 694 7479.
Yes, sir, Ernie.
And you can
That's
call
it.
us later.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
thank you very much.
Okay. So we do have, well, Ernie, please go ahead with your question. And then we have Kaling Young also with a question. So Ernie, go ahead with your question, and I'll call Kal.
Yes, what a nice presentation you gave, and the answers are really spot on. Many people who listen, they want to see if they can do this. And of course, we're interested in whether we can afford it and whether it needs a lot of capital and whether we'll make money. So my question really is this. Of course, it depends. Maybe you can give one for fruits and one for fruit trees and one for vegetables, if vegetables is interesting to you. What is the minimum project cost and what is the return on investment? That's it, because people want to experiment. They're not
Yeah.
really, they want to try it and all that. Yeah.
So for I will give particularly durian. So for durian seedlings for production, let's say for example, you start small, 1,000 planting materials. So roughly, your cost would be in growing them until you can sell them is around 50,000 for 1,000 pieces
Wow.
of plant.
Yeah.
Then you can sell it 150 pesos per seedling. So that's 150,000 in 8 to 1 year for puyat variety. But if you will propagate rare and those new varieties, it could be more. So let's take puyat as our base for the pricing and the cost. So that's, I think, bigger profit, big
That's
profit.
great. Okay. So 50,000 in 1 year. Did you say 1 year?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Sometimes it could be 8 months. 8 months. If you can sell them, then let's go. That's good.
That's fantastic profit.
Yeah.
And what does it take? What's your advice so that this can be propagated more? Because we lack a lot of nurseries and the
Yes,
government not very good at this. So
the
what
things,
the government should do so that it's propagated faster?
yeah. So the thing is, if the government really wants to fast track the distribution of quality planting materials, first things first is it should be disseminated to LGUs. LGUs should put a germ, what you call this? A gene bank. They should establish first a quality mother trees. Then after that, provide quality mother trees. Then that's the time we can propagate it locally per LGU. So that way, much faster.
Okay. One last question. When you go to a municipal government, you say do this. They have no idea what they're talking about. So for them to do that, how much would they have to invest from their municipal taxes? How much to do? What I like what you say. No, if you do the municipal, then they can spread it fast. But they gotta do the start. How much would it cost to start that thing you're talking about?
Maybe they can start with
How much money?
maybe 200 to 300,000 for a what you call this mother trees.
Yes, yes. But even the channel, of course, that's a bit high for them sometimes, right? But with
Yes.
200,000, they can in fact make money themselves, correct? I mean, I'm talking
Yes.
making it sustainable. You give it away, nothing happens, right? I mean, it is lost. So if they put in the 200,000, okay, you think that they can propagate it at the same time sell it? Could they in fact make good money? Because the way you talked about it, it's my God, it's 3 times in 1 year, right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but these guys, they can actually sell it and make some money. Is it?
Yes, yes, actually they can do it, sir. Actually, that the 200 to 300,000 cost that I told you, uh, they can also with that amount they can plant for the mother trees, and they can also distribute for that sample
Oh,
distribute.
last question. Have you in fact tried it with one municipal government and did it work? Have you
Yeah,
tried?
yeah, in Antipas, North Cotabato. I
Yeah,
supplied planting materials there.
and they made money. In other words, they did what you want, and then they spent only 300,000 pesos, and they were able to make money.
Actually, in Antipas, no, because the mayor there is really uh, proactive and really good. What he did in his municipality, if you had an area like 1 hectare, the municipality will offer that they will develop the area. They will do the land preparation. They will do the making of roads to your farm. Then the municipality alone will give you the seedlings for free. So I tried it in one municipality, but the municipality did not make money because
Good.
they're handing the seedlings for free.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you very much. So we will bring this up to the DA people and find out, right? And maybe that's our job in the foundation. We connect the speaker who's very knowledgeable to contacts which we have, and that's the way we have propagated. Of course, we're not talking about uh, going to mayors and having them imitate it. You know, mayors they're hesitant; they don't understand it so well. But if you tell them that 300,000 they can make some money and help people, then that would be good. In other words, this idea of building roads, that's too much for them. What they just want to do is do it and sell it, right? So you think it can be done? Okay, thank you. With that in note, I promise you, as Foreign Foundation, we raise it to some people and tell them your story, and then if they're interested, and I hope they will be, they can contact you. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Can I speak, sir?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If I could be of any help for the foundation and to help the farmers, technical inputs and other information that you want to get from me, I will be happy to help. That can I assure you, sir.
Wow, you're so generous. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Usually they charge.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually they charge. But for the foundation and to help the farmers, it's for free.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kaling, please.
Hi, good morning, Bernard. Thank you for your interesting topic, durians. May I, amongst the local varieties, which variety would you want to like propagate or for you is the best, and which you will encourage people to propagate more amongst the local? Because
Yeah.
you mentioned Puyat. I think the important ones like the Musang, yeah, they're very expensive, but it's also very costly just to invest in. But I think we should do more local varieties.
Yes, yes.
So, what would you recommend? Which variety?
So it's a really good and interesting question, Kaling.
Yeah.
So for local, if you really want money, you want to sell your durians to what you call this durian plantations or durian plantation, it should be Puyat because Puyat is heavy, it has a good processing quality, and it has a good eating quality for the Chinese and for some local, especially the beginners. But on the other side, if your customers is just like me, a durian enthusiast and connoisseur, so Puyat is for me boring because it's just plain sweet and meaty. That's it. But for if your target is the local connoisseurs and those what you call this durian hardcore eaters, I will go for Arancillo and a lot of local native durian. The thing with us is we don't focus on research and development for how many years. That's why we don't have new varieties. But in fact, here in Mindanao, in our place, there's a lot of good native durian or those durian grown from seeds. But sad to say, I visited some place. Those I saw a lot of uh, native trees, durian native trees, that's 50, 80, and sometimes I think 100-year-old tree, but sad to say, they cut it and replace it with puyat. Sometimes they use it as lumber. So I feel sad whenever I see those fallen durian trees because I'm really enthusiastic and passionate on what I'm doing because it's a legacy that we can live in the future. So in our farm, what I did for the last 7 years, I collected good native durians from other places, like in other barangay. When I see a really promising durian tree, I ask the owner if I can get sayon and I will propagate it, then plant it in our farm. So that's what I've been doing for this past years. So
Yeah.
if for industrial farming or for money making, should be puyat. But if you really want a good tasting durian, we can go for arancillo, duyaya, and some native native durian varieties. And also the ones that I'm mentioning, the graviolens, the small one, the fish size, it's a really good durian. I will, sir, I will please take it note that uh, when the season comes, I'm gonna give free Durio Graviolens to the foundation, to the members, if they want. So you can have your,
Be
you can,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can send the, Sir Julius, you can send the number or the address later on. I'm gonna contact para so that we can send it if they want to taste. I will send like 2 kilos or 3 kilos each so that you can benchmark if it's really promising and has a potential. Because Chinese customers, they really love it. When we go to Borneo and Sabah, Sarawak, a lot of Chinese people is eating those durian.
Have you tried the UP Gold? UP
UP,
Gold.
yeah,
Yes.
UP Gold
It-
is good. It's
It's
good.
very good. Yeah.
It's good.
And I think it's even, I think, not only just comparable to Puyat, it's even better.
Yeah.
Because it was, researched by UP, and so they really want to do a better variety than just Puyat. So
Yes.
I think we planted in our farm. It's, we tried it, and I think, but I just want to know what variety should we be more focused on, like, let's say, instead of so many kinds, because people, it's hard when you come out with, in your lot, sometimes you would have mix
Okay.
of
So
so
here's
many other varieties.
so
So
here okay, I will
to
give
be more
yeah,
consistent, something like that.
yeah. To it's not that I'm not counting out Puyat, but let's admit Malaysian varieties are really good
Yeah.
when it comes to taste. But I think the key Puyat is also when you had an old Puyat tree, like here in our farm, we have a almost 30-year-old Puyat tree. It's really good. It's really on par
It's
with
so creamy. It's really good. Yeah.
it's on par with what you call this? It's on par with what you call this? The Musang King. The key there is you really need to take care of the tree. Proper nutrition, farm management, that's the key to produce a really good durian.
Yeah.
So for me, my recommendation would be like this. You go with Puyat for our local, then you go with 101, D168, Musang, Blackthorn. Those were really good durian.
Okay. Okay.
If you
Thank
want,
you.
if for what you call this business on the business side, but for the connoisseur, or if your target are the connoisseurs or those hardcore durian lovers, you go with Arancillo, Duyaya, D188, and a lot more. Actually, you can personally message me if you want to talk deeper about durian varieties that is good and has a lot of potential in the farm.
I certainly will. Thank you so much, Bernard.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you,
All
Julius.
right. Thanks very much, guys.
So
Thank you so much to everyone who's asked their questions. Unfortunately, if you are joining us through our social media uploads 2 weeks from now, I'm going to have to cut off our session now. But if you are joining us this morning online, please do stay on because we do have our informal session exclusive to the members and donors of the foundation coming up. So please do stay on so that you can continue to discuss with Bernard about this honestly very interesting topic. But for now, may I please first flash our certificate of appreciation on screen? So the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation, in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines, together with all of our members, individual, corporate, special partner, and senior special partner institutions, all present this certificate of appreciation to Bernard Bautista III for his invaluable support in the advocacy and promotion of agribusiness and countryside development, and for his commendable and unselfish services rendered to this foundation as our resource speaker on our 7th online session of 2026, this 21st day of April, given in Pasig City, Philippines. Signed, Ernie Ordonez as our chairman and myself as our president. Okay, so once again, if you're joining us this morning, please do stay on for our informal session, which is coming right up, exclusive to members and donors of the foundation. If you are joining us through our social media uploads, I'm afraid we're going to have to say goodbye to you. The Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation is in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines. We are a non-profit member-supported organization working for poverty reduction in the Philippines through the development of agribusinesses in rural countryside areas of the country. We believe that with the development of small agribusinesses, we can promote job creation in the countryside, which can directly lead to poverty reduction here in our country. If you have taken any value from our session today, perhaps you are also an enthusiast of genetic preservation. Perhaps you are also a collector of rare fruit trees here in Southeast Asia or in other countries around the world. Perhaps you are also operating a fruit tree nursery and you'd like to learn more, or you're a person who wants to start a small agribusiness. Please do leave a comment down below. We hope you would like and subscribe to our channel or follow us on Facebook to keep yourselves updated of this and many more educational sessions to come, and to gain access to our full catalog of all of our sessions that we upload for free for everyone to enjoy forever, or as long as the internet remains to be a thing. Anyway, we're glad you could join us this morning, and we hope to see you in our next session. Have a great day. Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may be, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.